Hey everyone, it's LS, and today's sponsor is Professor. Professor is a cutting-edge app designed for League of Legends, integrated with Overwolf, and it's packed with features to elevate your gaming experience. Professor instantly imports the best runes during champion select, and once the game starts, users can gain insights into how effectively they play their champions and matchups. After your game, you can even dive into the detailed breakdown and analysis of what ended up happening inside of your game. But that's not all. Professor also includes an in-game overlay that updates live. Keep track of the key metrics like gold per minute, kill participation, CS per minute, vision score per minute, and your current level all in real time. Because, sometimes seeing real level, it can, it can be a little bit difficult. Moreover, Professor enriches your strategic planning by tagging your opponents with descriptive playstyles, knowing who's an aggressive jungler, spot auto-filled players, and be warned about those who are on a cold streak. This is mostly useful, probably more so in like the lower brackets, although obviously cold streak type stuff can be quite useful, even in like the super high brackets as well, because you can just really identify like who's on tilt, or you might even be able to actually just know, like, maybe if you actually just see someone never wards, then something like that, then unless they're like a really good player, then maybe they're, if they never ward and they have like really high death averages, probably means that they're willing to solve world hunger. Join the community of over 8 million summoners who trust and use Professor. It's certified safe by Riot Games, ensuring a secure and enhanced gaming experience. If you're looking to up your game and start racking up wins, click the link in the description and dive into the world of Professor. Hey everyone, it's LS, and this is the League of Legends patch preview for 13.24. This is the last patch of Summoner's Rift as we know it. And League is getting its first absolutely massive update, at least in terms of things are going to change, and it will mix some stuff up, right? Because we're going to have to adjust the map. And then, it'll take a few months, few months maybe for like everyone to really get adjusted to it and acclimated to how everything's going to start playing out from then. But this is it. This is the final patch. And I said last patch in the rundown on the FlyQuest channel that I did not think that anything really was going to come from 13.24. I did not realize that Hwei was going to be released in 13.24. So 13.24 actually is a big patch in the sense that Hwei is released, but we'll go through everything else really quick. Azir W damage, 5110 to 50 to 118. They can't make up their mind on Azir. Braum, mono region, 6 to 7. Our minimum secondary knockup duration, 0.3 to 0.6. Now that is very big for Braum. That's massive. He's getting double on the minimum knockup duration. That's actually quite obnoxious. Now the mono region does not really do anything because you're hardly even going to get one extra ability cast if the laning phase goes really long for Braum. So you'll almost get an extra mono cast. That is the way to interpret the mono region change, because it will almost, you're going to have to play hundreds of games for that mono region to maybe convert to like one kill, or to convert to surviving or something like that. And then again, you could have just played differently. Galio, Q cooldown is going to be 12 to 10 to 12 to 8. That is massive, actually. That's huge. 2 base second cooldown reduction. Now, maybe this is an anticipation for the item rework and everything that's going to be going on, because it's going to be more difficult to get ability haste. Now, Galio was not a person that actually got a whole lot of ability haste anyway, but it should be noted that these types of things do have to be considered. We have to see the final items and what type of ability haste Galio would have had before versus where he ends up now, because this might be an anticipation change, and if that's the case, then it's not as good. However, it is quite massive when you're just getting 2 seconds for free shaved off, because AP Galio, or even Bruiser Galio, he does hurt, and people do have to remember that, and they have to respect it. This also helps his wave clear massively in a lot of lanes. Gragas passive cooldown is going to be 12 to 12 to 6. That makes absolutely no sense. That is disturbing. That is absolutely disturbing. So I'm assuming this is level 1, and then this is 6, and this is 11, and then this is 16. So at level 6, when he gets his passive in laning phase, okay, he's getting so much HP in lane. He is so difficult. You cannot move him in the side lane. What is going on? Why does he just get such a massive buff like this? Even in team fights in the later stages, this is going to be absolutely massive as well. He's just getting so much HP for free. He's getting hundreds of HP in a team fight. He will absolutely proc his passive 3 extra times now or something inside of a team fight. This is absolutely absurd. They're just giving Gragas hundreds of HP in team fight, and then they're giving him free HP in laning phase. They're giving him more than probably a Ruby Crystal in laning phase for context. That's the way that you read this. So, Cassante, W mana 60-80 to 40-60, W resist damage ratio 30-50%. So you guys might have seen that I obviously tweeted that it is absurd that they have to sell skins. I mean, Cassante was literally just in the World Song that they ended up having, right? The new Worlds group that they ended up making. Heartsteel, right? So, yeah, I guess it makes sense they need to sell skins. I mean, we'll read the explanation on the right-hand side for a little bit, but this is funny. Okay, Leona, W resistances 20-40 to 20-50, R damage 100 to 250 to 150, 300. So getting the increased 50 damage on rank 1R is actually really absurd. W is also her first maxed ability. She's not getting that much more resistances per point, but it is a little bit obnoxious that she's just getting tankier, and then for some reason she's getting 50 damage on her R. That makes no sense whatsoever. Typically this is going to hit 1 to 2 targets almost always, but just getting a flat 50 base buff to an all-in support seems a little bit absurd. Those are really big. Those are really big Leona buffs. Lucian E cooldown 22-14 to 19-14. This is massive for his utility, but his utility goes back to being the same later. E is his last maxed ability, so it is also just making him a little bit safer in laning phase, and also for mid and top lane Lucian, it does make him actually able to hit the enemy a lot more often while being a lot safer. This is really important for like the Jace, the Lucian into Jace dynamic counter and stuff. Yeah, also I apologize as I'm doing this video fresh out of the shower, and I know that something seems to be wrong with the webcam as well. So if you are in the comment section and you're saying that there is an audio and video delay, I do apologize. I do not know if we're going to be able to fix this in post-editing. However, do know that I did try to fix it for like an hour. I gave up. I restarted the computer, did updates and stuff, went to shower, came back. It is still persisting. So move on to Mordekaiser. So Mord has gotten a lot of buffs in a row, if my memory serves me correct. QAP ratio is going up by 10%. Now, Mordekaiser doesn't actually get a lot of ability power. He does build Nashers, but then he has like other build variations where he can go somewhat bruisery, and then other times he can just go more on the tanky side, and then obviously like the AP build is very, very, very rare. Let's take a look at his patch history, however. Now, this is the stuff that you guys always do have to keep in mind when you're remembering stuff like this. So we got a bug fix here, a bug fix, damage taken to shield conversion factor reduced to 3 point. Okay, so all right. Let me see here. Base health. So this was in 12.10. So this is durability patch. So he got durability patch, and then he got 11.19. He got the cooldown on Death's Grasp, was just flat reduced early on. And then Indestructible is 12 to 8 seconds from 14. Got a buff here. Damage dealt store was increased. I mean, he's not actually getting that many. He's actually not getting a whole lot. And now, Mordekaiser is definitely a problem because he's a monster champion. Generally, monster champions are pub stompers and lower MMR, so it's always really difficult for Riot. New R reveals his target on start of cast. Brush doesn't cancel the ability. Interesting. Okay. So, I mean, again, 10% buff. They're giving him something. It's just something you have to keep mental note of. But again, Mordekaiser doesn't get a whole lot of AP. So you have to also be isolated. Mord is going to take forever to get to like 300 AP, which means that his Q is only doing 30 more damage. In laning phase, Mordekaiser has no ability power, okay? He's not going to have 100 ability power in laning phase, right? Maybe he's going to have somewhere around like 60 or something. So if you get hit by the Q, sure, you take 6 more damage. Is that going to absolutely destroy the laning phase against Mord? No, absolutely not, because his all-ins are never that close. Kiana, mana, 320 plus 50 to 375 plus 60. So mana is actually one of her issues, and that is a buff to all variations of Kiana, so that's really nice to see. Talon, new ranged Q resets auto attack, matches melee Q, very nice for Talon. Zeri, 80 growth, 1.3 to 2, W damage 20 to 180 to 30 to 190. Okay, so the 80 growth going up by 0.7 is actually somewhat large. It's not quite 2 longswords at level 18, but it's pretty close. W damage also just going up by a very, very flat amount. I do not think is really that important. They do have to be very careful with Zeri. Briar, attack speed ratio 0.644. Level 1 attack speed unchanged. Armor 32 to 30, so she takes a little bit more damage. But it seems like her all-in is now heavier, at least on the attack speed. Q damage 60 to 200 to 60 to 180. W attack speed 60 to 120%, 255 to 115. Okay, so actually they're lowering her base damage on Q, and they're lowering her attack speed on W, but her base attack speed is increased. And E damage reduction is going to go down by 5%. R damage is going to also go down. Okay, so Zeri is, or not Zeri, sorry, Briar is just going to take quite a few hits. Yeah, I do not know what to think of this. I do not think that she will actually appear in competitive when it does come time for competitive matches. Now, obviously, there is the Red Bull tournament, and there's like other show matches that are happening. There's going to be the Drew 2 Series 2 Cup, which is happening, and I imagine that they'll be playing on 13/24, so we'll get to see like a lot of these champions and whatnot and see how they play. Ivern base health is going to go down by 25. This really only hurts Ivern for top and mid lane, and I guess like the occasional Rengar Ivern bot lane thing. The E slow going to go by 5%, so to contextualize that, you're basically losing a little bit more than magical boots when you slow the enemy. The slow only going down by this amount does not really do anything. These are totally fine Ivern nerfs because the champion is absolutely godlike. Hwei, I will have to make a separate video on him in himself. He is the first champion and I think like 10 years of League of... Oh, no, sorry. He's the second champion in like 10 years of doing League of Legends content that I did not make a video for, the other one being Vex. And obviously I did not do the video on Vex because I literally did not know that she came out until a while after she came out. So interesting there. Vel'Koz, bug fixes for W and E, fizzling at times. E timing buffs will come in a future patch due to a bug. Okay, this is fine. So I believe that, yeah, this is it for, what is this? What am I doing? Oh, that was Froxen's media. I'm like, what is going on here? Okay, so let's read what he says on the right. Partial revert of the W damage. The changes were directionally positive, just off in magnitude. Braum, a while ago, we nerfed Braum's knockup duration that reduces pick rate in pro. Made it more playable and normal by a significant amount. It was also a satisfaction hit, so we're turning some of it nice. I think that's reasonable. Yeah, Gallery's cooldowns have been pretty long for a while, and while he's turned into more of a one rotation than do nothing for a while champion, this change hopefully gives him more flexibility and more fun gameplay pattern. True, but again, it comes down to the items. Gragas has been weak for a while and less fun to play after the passive changes. I mean, I disagree with that. We were seeing Gragas actually appear at Worlds. It's just that he's not as flexible as he once was, and he does clearly have a little bit more weaknesses now. Bringing some of that back without making it as strong early game as it used to be, that's totally fine. I think the Gragas change is... Gragas, if that's what the, I mean, well, Gragas will come back, but the Gragas change, at least they do curve it. It doesn't start really getting obnoxious. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really start getting obnoxious, I guess, until level 6. You will start feeling it at level 6, because level 6 to 10 or something, you're gonna feel it in laning phase. Leona was considered the poster child for supports one-shotting you pre-durability. Received a lot of nerfs leading up to that. Post-durability, she lost a lot of that soloing power, of course she did, and dropped off a lot ever since. Adding a bit of the damage back into the early game, being careful not to go overboard. Well, I think that she's going to actually need more than just this. She's also going to be dependent on certain itemization and stuff, because right now the reality is that Enchantress supports, I mean, well, it's been this way for a couple of years. Enchantress supports, when just played properly, or anti-engage supports, are just superior to engaged supports in most cases, as long as you're drafting well. Lucian, looking at a more fun change for Lucian that allows him to trade a bit more early game, and he's going to be safe. He's dropped off a bit in terms of being an early game focused champion, and this should help all the way up into putting multiple points in E. Sure, I agree with that. Mordekaiser, no, we're buffing Q. At the same time, it's his worst ratio and one that we think needs to be corrected for him to build AP more regularly. R is quality of life change that more admins have been requesting for a while. Yeah, buffing Q doesn't matter. They're not buffing the base, they're buffing the AP. And again, his first item, even if it's Gnasher's Tooth, that has 100 AP on it, okay? So you're getting 10 more damage on the Q. Now, if you hit the isolated Q, sure, there's going to be a little bit more damage going on that, but let's not pretend like Mordekaiser's going to get 2 Qs off, right? And an actual all-in. So if both of them are isolated and then he has Gnasher's Tooth, sure, okay, yeah, he probably saves himself like half an auto attack at that point. But let's be honest, like actually contextualize what the damage is that he's hitting you with, and then also consider that Mordekaiser does not take close all-ins. That he either you're dead or either you're dead or he's not R'ing you in most cases, right? Unless it's like going to be late game or something. And even if it is late game or something, there's more going on than Mordekaiser R'd you. So again, as mentioned earlier, counters mana costs are excessively punishing and often puts, yeah, sure, exactly. Zeri, now that Triforce Zeri is gone and pro play is done for the year, we feel more comfortable giving Zeri some of the AD growth back. We'll see how she performs with the new items and then monitor. I think that's very fair. I think the Zeri change is actually extremely fair, especially because Zeri does actually have a lot of answers, even though we did not just see that throughout this year as Zeri played out. But yeah, I mean, even last year too. Briar, I was mentioning yesterday, trying to narrow the gap between her overperforming lethality builds and the worst performing bruiser builds by converting some of the yeah, I just don't think she's going to be paid in competitive. Ivern, some simple nerfs to Ivern focus mainly on the early game. Yeah, I think this is totally fine. And then Vel'Koz, some bug fixes in here. We found a nasty bug with the E-timing. Okay, so quality of life for assassins instead of damage buffs, you guys might be cooking. Okay, so anyways, I mean, I think that's a fine comment. This is one of the better filler patches. One, Hwei is here. That's totally fine. And it actually just has a ton of buffs. So even though it's a filler patch, the nerfs aren't really real. One, I just don't care about Briar because I just really do not think she's going to be in competitive. And then two, Ivern is fake news. So really, this is a patch with only buffs, and that's the way that it should be treated. So overall, this is a good patch. You can still argue that it's a filler patch in a lot of ways, but it's kind of not because of Gragas mostly. I would say it's mostly because of Gragas, and then obviously Hwei's arrival, and that's what shakes things up. So we had like 5 or 6, 7 really bad patches or something, right? And this one looks like it's the first one that's in like an okay direction. And then obviously 14.1 is going to be an absolute juggernaut. So that is pretty much it. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And I do apologize again for the video audio maybe disconnect. Yeah, but that is pretty much it. Also, tomorrow there's a guild on Grobulus for Wrath of the Lich King Classic, and also the new servers. I'm going to be streaming Season of Discovery with some LoL people, some Korean players. Sanchovies, I think, is going to be playing along with me, some of my IRL friends, and like other stuff. I will be streaming Season of Discovery. I think this is the first time that I will have ever streamed a non-league game in like forever that wasn't on my alt channel or something. Obviously, like, I played Magic and like StarCraft and chess and stuff while I was in Q and stuff, but I mean, actually streaming a different game. So I'm going to be playing Season of Discovery. You guys might have saw the Instagram post on my Instagram page. The guild is open for now, and then once like competitive players are determined, people who are actually playing all the time, then the guild will compartmentalized and whatnot. Yeah, so it'll do PvP and obviously PvE, and people are welcome to join. You can just find that on either Twitter or Instagram, or just on the stream that day. I'm sure there'll be a Nightbot command, but that is it, guys, and thanks for watching, and see you later. Bye-bye.